All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe Imbriano, and I've got a very important broadcast here for you right now. And I want to talk to you about something that most of you have probably never given a second thought to, and that is your clothing, your bedding, your blankets. All right, folks, you got to understand something. I was in a store. I like to read labels. That's one of the things I enjoy. I like to keep up on my pronunciation of chemical compounds and see what new stuff they've come out with and stuck in the food and the clothing and the mattress covers and everything else. And I was captivated by a t-shirt label that actually talked about how they've impregnated metallic nanocompound technology into the t-shirts to ostensibly control bacterial growth and odor. Now, we all know that every time they try to tell us they're trying to help us, they're really up to something else. You know, and I keep reverting back to back in 1996 when I was fighting the city of Newport Beach. They wanted to develop the piers and build these high-rise condos and bulldoze a bunch of houses. And they tried to turn all those wealthy residents against us poor fishermen to get rid of us so they could turn that place into Daytona Beach and Beverly Hills. But they didn't realize I was fighting for them to preserve their homes. They were going to lose their houses and have these 50-story hotels built on that waterfront area. But I remember the city manager, his name was Kevin Murphy, and he had this bizarre NPR voice and this weird smile and these creepy glasses. And I was arguing and fighting for these poor fishermen to keep the city from kicking them off the piers and making fishing illegal. And I remember one time he came up to me, he put his arm around me, and he said, "Joe," he said, "don't worry, everything's going to work out just fine." And I'll never forget that, because, you know, that man the whole time had every intention of doing the exact opposite of what he said. You see, I learned years ago that when they tell you they're here to help you, they got their knife to your throat, folks. That's how they operate. Well, there's no difference between what that creepy guy tried to do, and by the way, he was dead in a few years after he tried to pull that off. We prevailed. You can still fish at the beaches. It's illegal to ban fishing. The state of California has things written into its constitution that prohibit municipalities from usurping their authority. As a matter of fact, if a city violates any of those tenets, they can have their tithing grant revoked, which is what I threatened to have done. But I digress. The point is anytime they come out and say that they're trying to help you, you better watch right around your shoulder to see what they got on your jugular and see if it's shiny and sharp. Well, in this particular case, they're putting metals in your clothing. Now, if you do just a cursory review of polyester resins, and you know that's what fleece and all this synthetic fiber is made out of now that you see in the store. They call it cozy soft blankies and all this nice stuff. They put, you know, cartoon characters all over it to attract your children to it. They put Disney princesses and werewolves on it to get everybody, you know, they got Minecraft blankets and Fortnite blankets and Barbie blankets. And, you know, what's the name of that? Elsa that tries to freeze the whole world by changing the sexual orientation of everybody. Look, folks, they've weaponized the clothing. Okay, now, your home's full of radio frequency emissions, Wi-Fi and smart meters and wireless doorbells and cameras and TVs and DVRs and ding-dong openers and everything else. You know that depending upon what kind of nanomaterials they infuse in these polyester resins on these clothing lines, they could turn you into an antenna. There is quite a bit of radio frequency absorption capability of polyester resins, especially if they're impregnated with the right nanomaterial. So my point is, without getting into too much physical chemistry discussion here, you need to abandon the use of all of the fleece and synthetic clothing and bedding and blankets and jackets and everything else, socks, everything. It is highly conductive. Now, I have several devices that I use to test things like ionizing radiation, microwave radiation, dirty electricity out of the walls, magnetic fields. I have a variety of test equipment systems. And if you just run your hands over a fleece blanket, back and forth, you know, apply some friction to it, you will see it generates quite a magnetic field. And if you do that to a cotton blanket, it generates absolutely no magnetic field. Now, many of you will notice on a dry, cold night that there's a lot of static discharge in those blankets at night. They are electrical absorbers, ladies and gentlemen. They're pulling electricity out of the air, and that electricity can be 60 hertz, which is naturally occurring. That's the kind of stuff we get from lightning. That's the stuff that comes out of your walls. It also picks up radio frequency emissions, different types of microwaves, and converts that depending upon the metallic nanocompounds that it's been infused with. And I wouldn't put anything past these people. It's a form of electrocution, ladies and gentlemen. You need to abandon your fleece and your synthetic fiber clothing, bedding, blankets, jackets, socks, underwear, everything. By the way, ladies, while we're on the topic, you need to take that antenna system off your breasts. You heard me. Those wired bras, aside from the vasoconstrictive properties that set you up for breast cancer, you do not want any metal wires around your breasts. Why? Well, in Southern California, there's a radio station called KFI, and it broadcasts on AM 640, and its signal is so strong that it ends up getting picked up by rain gutters and delivered through the telephone lines. And there are some places 120 miles away where you can hear that radio station if you pick up your landline, folks, on the dial tone. There is a tremendous amount of radio frequency broadcast occurring, and the last thing you need is to be a gigantic receiving antenna. Now, to make matters worse, most of you sleep on a antenna farm. You sleep on an antenna farm called a mattress. You've got steel coils in the mattress, and then you've got electric blankets, and then you've got these fleece blankets. Look, folks, I'm just giving you a brief warning here. You need to ditch every single clothing item that is made from anything except for cotton, ladies and gentlemen. And I know it's getting hard to find. Cotton's getting hard to find. It's hard to get cotton blankets. You know, I was in Mexico a couple weeks ago, south of the border, and there's still plenty of cotton available in Mexico. All the blankets down there, a lot of them are 100% cotton, 100% wool, although you could smell the motor oil in some of them. That's why I tended to stay away from them. But the point is, there are options, but you don't want to be falling for this new technology where they're infusing metallic nanocompounds into the clothing lines made out of polyester, which are synthetic resins made from petroleum. They're polymers linked together, and depending on what they decide to infuse in terms of the metallic nanocompounds, I did some research last night, and these fullerene compounds they impregnate in some of these polyester resins are downright frightening in terms of how much electricity they can actually absorb and capture out of the atmosphere from microwave emissions. They have created microwave absorbers out of polyester resins that have been infused with fullerene carbon nanotubules. Now, what does that mean? That means that the radio frequency emissions that are being broadcast from a variety of these sources, cell towers and smartphones and deck phones and smart meters and Wi-Fi and wireless ding-dong openers, wireless tequila bottle openers, all these wireless devices are putting energy, electricity into the air in the form of microwaves. And these fabrics pick them up and convert them to electricity. And when you say, I sing the body electric, when you watch that Twilight Zone episode, you're not kidding, folks. They're trying to electrocute you. And if you're sleeping on an antenna farm with a Wi-Fi router and a blue glow light going, you're going to need the sleeping pills. See, most of you don't need all these pills. Most of you have all these chronic ailments. You think you need the CBD oil. You think you need the pills. You think you need to medicate. You think you need to drink your... No, folks, you need to unplug. You need to sleep on cotton. You need to understand what earthing is. You need to spend some time barefoot in contact with the dirt and the grass, the concrete, or put your feet in the pool or the jacuzzi. You got to make contact with the earth and ground to get electrons from the earth, not this static discharge that they're trying to get you to wrap yourself in and make yourself into some gigantic antenna system so you can electrocute all the way down to your mitochondrial level and destroy the powerhouse of your cells. So you end up with mitochondrial collapse, and then you end up with an illness that they will label as a viral infection and try to give you drugs and medication and retrovirus pills and vaccines for. The solutions are simple, folks. It's a big con job. Let's go back to the basics, right? Barefoot and pregnant, that's the way to go. Barefoot if you're pregnant, ladies. We got to go back to the caveman mentality. I'm not talking about that Cro-Magnon crap, because I don't buy into that. People have not been around for billions of years. We were created in God's image, and we're very intelligent people that have been dumbed down and made merchandise out of by these monsters. And I'm just giving you some advice, folks. It's time to ditch those fabrics. I bet you've never heard this anywhere before. But yet, when I go to the store and I see that they're dumping these things 6 feet tall on all the tables, all this fleece crap, all this synthetic fiber, I know it's an agenda, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's an agenda. I have a chemistry degree, I have a biological science degree, and I study and research things late at night. While the world's asleep, I'm awake trying to figure out what they're doing to everybody so we can win, okay? And we are winning. That's why they're so scared. That's why they got to put all these towers everywhere. That's why they got to dose the water and get you hopped up on all this sugar and make you all fat and sick and drugged up and lethargic and depressed so they can give you fluoride pills. That's right. That's why they want you on fluoride toothpaste, and they fluoridate the water, and they brominate the flour, and they brominate the vegetable oil that they put in the Sunny Delight, and they put in the Sun-Kissed and the Fanta, because they want those toxic halide compounds out-competing the iodine uptake that's necessary for your bodily functions and your thyroid regulation of all your metabolic processes, all the way down to the mitochondrial function and the source of the electrons. And the overdose of these halogen compounds forces the cells to go into glycolysis, folks. And what do? They feed you sugar. And then the cancer shows up and brings its buddies. It says, hey, let's have a party! And you wrap yourself in fleece with a blue light screen in front of you and electrocute your reproductive organs, and you let your children go into virtual reality zone with these avatars like something from a Club Rubber nightmare. Listen, folks. All right, here's the deal. Ditch your fleece blankets now, okay? Get rid of them. That's part of the agenda, all right? Cotton is the way to go, folks. 100% cotton. No synthetic fibers. You should not be sleeping on synthetic fibers. You should not be wearing synthetic fibers. You should be wearing cotton underwear, cotton t-shirts, cotton clothing. Cotton candy, no. Cotton clothing. You want to wear non-conductive clothing, folks. It's hard to find, it's expensive, but guess what? So is health. Because once you lose it, it's really damn expensive to get it back. And as a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, money can't buy health. So make the investment now. You know it's amazing. There was a guy I knew years ago. He owned a lot of properties. I think he had about 30 rental properties and a couple of apartment complexes. And I remember he told me, hey, Joe, I'm never going to die. He used to fish with me at the pier. Really nice guy. And really tall guy, veteran from the war. You know, really big, tall, 6'3", really tough guy. He said, oh, Joe, you know, come on. We're not going to die. I'm going to be around for a long time, right? And this guy had a lot of money. And he was a very nice man, a very generous man, with a lovely wife. And I just remember they'd come down to the pier. They had a nice motorhome. They'd stay in the parking lot. And he'd have me in for lunch when I was a little kid. Great guy. He got sick. And it's amazing how his whole life he saved all this money and cut corners and cut napkins in half, figuratively, folks. But the minute he ended up in the hospital, millions of dollars went out of his accounts to try to regain his health. That was actually destroyed by a medication contraindication that he was prescribed by a doctor. The doctors killed my friend. But what was amazing is how much money he went through trying to regain what was lost. Folks, make the investment now. Go out and buy yourself, get rid of the Wi-Fi and sleep on cotton and ground and earth and get in the sun, get some fresh air, get some water in you, get some exercise. I'm just going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to try to find and try to avoid the dyed fabrics. You don't want that stuff getting absorbed into your skin either. Just, you know, white shirts, white sheets, folks. Then you'll know when to change them, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Joe Imbriano, P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834. Joe Imbriano 777 at gmail.com. And on the web at wifidangers.com and thefullertoninformer.com. Thank you all for tuning in today, folks. I know you probably get the notifications late. There's a real problem with the channel. A bunch of people keep getting unsubscribed. You're not getting your notifications. But I'll tell you this, folks. The truth is marching on. And we're winning. Winning. That's right, folks. We are winning. Winning. And I'm not Charlie Sheen. See, I got all my teeth. And I'm married to one woman for over 20 years. All right? And we're going to win this thing. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Ditch the fleece. It's a scam. It's an agenda. They're going to lose, folks. Knowledge is power. And here we go. In Jesus' name, folks. God bless you.